Before you watch the video, make sure you check out my full digital SAT math and verbal section video courses. These are the #1 rated video courses on Udemy, and I'm sure they're going to help you during your SAT prep. Welcome to this session. Here, I'm going to introduce you to the verbal section of the SAT. And when I say introduce you, I'll tell you everything that I've learned in the past 7 years of teaching SAT and everything that I know about the digital SAT since the first day it has been launched. So we will cover the 4 measured skills that you need to possess in order to get a good score on the SAT's verbal section. We will talk about types of questions. I'll tell you which personal skills you need to have in order to succeed on the SAT. And we will, of course, get introduced to the Bluebook application interface, where you will see how the exam is structured. Specifically, we're going to focus today on the verbal section. So we will now take a look at the general, let's say, composition of the exam. So right now on your screen, you see the Bluebook application. Bluebook application is the app that you download on your computer or iPad. I suggest taking the exam on the computer, and I'll tell you later why exactly, where you will be writing the SAT. This test is a digital test, and therefore they have built a platform where you can securely write the exam without cheating or without having any connection issues. So Bluebook application offers several practice tests for students to practice before taking the real test. Now, this is important because if you never practice before the exam, then you will see the structure of the exam for the first time when you're writing the exam. And that's not the best, I promise you. Even the students that are least prepared go over some practice tests and solve them before the exam. So keep that in mind. Now, here you will see several buttons, but we will click here on full-length practice. And I'll show you how an SAT test would look like by showing you a full-scale practice test. I should note that this test was created by College Board. The material here is copyright, and we will not be solving it. And this is not shown for you for commercial purposes. This is only shown for you to you for the purpose of introduction. The rest of the advice and skills that I'll cover in this session will, of course, be part of our course. So on our screen now, we will see how the test begins. In the beginning, they give you some instruction. This is something that you can read later once you download your Bluebook application. And here we have the main interface of the test. On the left side, in the verbal section, you're going to have your text, which is called the passage, since it's taken from a larger, let's say, book or article or scientific publication. And on the right side, you will have the question and the answer choices. On the top here, you can see the timer, and it shows the time that you have left for that specific module. There are 2 verbal section modules, each taking 32 minutes. Now, there are several tools in this interface. While you're solving questions, you can zoom in or zoom out using your keyboard and shortcuts on the computer. You can also make the passage bigger or make the questions take more space on your main interface page. What else you can do is you can eliminate some answer choices, and we will learn that elimination is a great tool while solving SAT questions. You can highlight notes, all right? That means while you're reading the text, you can assign certain colors to the words that you are interested in or the words that you find useful for the solution of the question. Maybe there are some keywords that signal some clues. So you might want to do that on the exam. And if you were struggling with the question and you want to revisit it, then you can always mark the question for review. And later, when you go over your overall question review or overview of the questions, and let's say you came to the last question and you solved it, and you're almost done with the module, and the time is still running, then you can go back and revisit the questions that you have marked for review. So this is the general interface of the Bluebook application, and the questions are structured such that there is an order on the exam. So the questions are not really random. And this order is based on the question types, okay? You're not always going to get questions of the same type. You will not always be asked to find a word that has to be filled in the text. Not really. You will have several different types of questions. And today I'll also tell you about the types of questions. But before that, let's quickly jump into the skills that they measure on the SAT. So the reason you're writing this test is because you want to apply for university or for college. These universities and colleges compare students, and when hundreds of students or thousands of students apply at the same time, it gets harder for these universities to compare students and choose the best ones. That's why SAT, in the end, when you get your result, shows your skills and levels to these universities. So it's not only the score that you need, it's also the range of skills that they measure that you can show to the universities when you are applying. This is a practice score report from a student of mine, whose name I had to hide here. And this score, 1,400, is made up of 660 on the reading and writing section and 740 in the math section. I should note that this is an international student, so English is her third language. As you can see here, there are 4 skills that are specified in the reading and writing, so the verbal section. The first skill is information and ideas. How well you understand information and how many ideas you can create based on the text that you have read. Then, expression of ideas. How well you are able to express ideas or help the author express ideas in written text. Sometimes we watch a video and we don't understand it at all. It is because the person recording the video does not know how to express an idea, doesn't know how to translate his thoughts to you. And communication is mostly about being able to transfer the ideas that you have in mind the way they are to the other person, okay? So on the SAT, they measure your ability to express ideas by giving you some types of questions where you change the text such that the text gives you different ideas. Craft and structure. They measure your ability to craft a text, to build a text, and to structure it, or to at least determine the structure of the text. They'll give you texts where you will have to determine what's going on, what the structure is about. They'll give you texts where there's one word missing, and you will have to put that one word. That's about craft and structure. They'll give you text that you will need to complete, depending on what the text already has, depending on the context. That's also about craft and structure. And finally, they measure your skills of standard English conventions or knowledge of standard English conventions. Conventions are rules, right? So standard English rules. What are these rules? Well, number one, it is about grammar. Grammar can be about tenses. Grammar can be about pronouns. So they measure your knowledge of tenses and pronouns. They also measure your punctuation skills. If you know how to use a comma, semicolon, colon, period, question mark, dash correctly, then you're good. Also, they measure your knowledge of possessive nouns and pronouns. And possessives also depend a little bit on the apostrophe, that punctuation that we put at the end of nouns. I'll tell you all about the skills. I'll teach you everything in this course, okay? So you don't have to worry about being left out in a way, but you'll only learn if you're participating, and you'll only learn if you're listening, taking notes, and really practicing as well, right? So you can't expect to just come to the video course and, sit down and magically learn everything if you're not putting in effort. But I promise you, everybody who has been putting effort up to this day with me has been learning a great deal of information to score good scores on the SAT. And each student who's been practicing and doing what I say has been showing an improvement in their scores. That's why stick with me. I'll teach you everything. Now, here we can see that these 4 skills are not equally distributed over the exam. Some skills or some questions are 26% of the exam, some are 20%, the others are 28%. So we see here a question count, generally how many questions we get depending on each skill. That means some skills are more important than others because they will give you more points than other skills. So I would definitely suggest us to specifically focus on craft and structure. So that means how to find the missing information in the text, or how to understand the structure of the text. And we will definitely work on information and ideas and standard English conventions heavily as well. But of course, I'll help you in this point here as well.